I request all the candidates recommended for the admission to various degrees to kindly stand up. Please stand up. Please. I request Father Chancellor to admit them to the various degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor of Christ University, I hereby admit you to the various degrees, having been examined, certified, and approved by Christ University under the Deanery of Humanities and Social Sciences and Deanery of Management Studies. I charge you that ever in your life and conversation you show yourselves worthy of the degree awarded.
Please remain standing. In your convocation ceremony handbook, please turn to page 7 for the graduation pledge. I request the Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences, Dr. John Joseph Kennedy, to administer the pledge.
Dear students, please keep your right hand on your heart and repeat the pledge after me. As a graduate of Christ University, I promise to uphold the dignity, honor, and prestige of this university. I will conduct myself with honesty and integrity, taking responsibility for my actions and respecting the rights, opinions, and dignity of all. I will cherish the core values inculcated in me in this temple of learning and will uphold them in the journey of my life. I will use my knowledge, experience, and skills to the best of my ability for the advancement of learning, for the well-being of the community, and for public good. I will strive to create a better society with a sense of fairness, social justice, and an environmental responsibility. I will follow the path of righteousness with respect to all ethical considerations to prove myself a worthy citizen of this country. As I leave the portals of my alma mater, I promise to carry on the good tradition that I belong to in whatever I do, strengthened by the mission and guided by the vision of excellence and service. I take this pledge by reaffirming my faith in God Almighty, who will always be my guiding spirit.
You may please be seated. We deem it a privilege to have Dr. Balakrishna Shetty as our chief guest. Sir, we are certain the graduating students would glean from you a humane approach to achieving goals in life. It is indeed an honor to invite you to deliver the convocation address. Please, sir.
Once I became the Vice Chancellor, I had to address the students. That was the first function I was addressing my students. That was an induction program where I had to talk to my students who are the fresh students coming for our courses in Siddhartha University. Of course, I had given a lot of guest lectures on my core subject, that was medicine and radiology. But talking to my students, it was not so easy. So I prepared myself and spoke so much about, vision, mission, success, so many anecdotes about successful candidates, ambition, career. It was something like a, cut, copy, paste syndrome, which is very, very rampant in higher education. Somehow I was not happy, with this cut, copy, paste syndrome like lectures. But it was my experience. I want to tell them something. I just told them, a student with more than 95% attendance will have a success rate of 95% and a success rate of passing his exams more than 95%. That was my experience, and it was just an innovative thought, and I just told the students at that time, and my faculty members came and told me, sir, what is this? Just an attendance will, clear the exams, not about their intelligence, homework, ambition and preparation. I said, no, it is just the attendance which can make the students pass or fail. Somehow, the attendance in our university just increased. I don't know how, and students somehow liked it. But there was one student, who was little notorious. He was not at all coming to the classes and little problematic. And of course, our faculty, principal, everybody tried their best to see that he'll come to the class. But he will never come to the class. And we were informed his parents. Still then, he was not attending. One fine day, after about 3 months, he appeared in my office. And he told me, sir, I want to attend the class. Somehow I want to attend the class. Not that I want to bunk the classes. I would like to come to the classes. But I don't know, when I get up in the morning, I don't feel like going to the class. I know you are a good vice chancellor, you are a good speaker. Why can't you motivate me so that I'll start attending the classes? I was a little surprised, Of course, I can talk, but how can I make a student attend the classes? It was like that, when I was starting my clinical career first time, there was a patient who came to me and he told me, doctor, after getting up from sleep, I don't get sleep. And after eating food, I don't feel hungry. I said, oh, this is very funny situation. And when I told my friend, doctor, he said, you give him 2 tablets. 1 tablet to take after he sleeps, and 1 tablet to take before he gets up. That was a funny situation. Why my student's problem was, I thought, is really serious. That he wants to come to the class, but he doesn't have the attitude or the mentality to attend the classes. This is what the problem I see in students. So I thought, what I should do as a vice chancellor to help these students. She already told me that a humanitarian approach. What should be a humanitarian approach to see that students will come to the class, students will become successful, they will have a vision, mission, success and all those. So what I should do? Suddenly I remembered, good mind in a good body, or a healthy mind in a healthy body. That means I thought, everybody should be healthy. If you are healthy, then you will have a good mentality, good vision, good attitude. What is this health? Again, I went through my literature. I went to WHO organization, WHO definition, Health is defined as, you all must have read about it at least. Okay, health is defined as physical well-being, mental well-being, social well-being, spiritual well-being, and not only merely the absence of disease. So when we talk about physical well-being, what do you think of? You don't have a disease means if you want to have physical well-being, definitely we think that we should eat enough good food, good air, good breathing, good food, good water is physical well-being. It's also called as, like you eat this much of food, you get this much of calories, and you can be very healthy. I don't say you'll be happy. Or you'll not have any physical diseases. Or if you walk so much on the treadmill, you will spend so many calories and you'll lose weight. It was not correct. I thought it will not be correct. WHO even says, the food pyramid. Like if you want to be healthy, you should eat so much of carbohydrates, then it comes proteins, then comes minerals, then comes, vitamins. It is a pyramid. So everybody thought the health is there in the food pyramid. They started eating all those commercial foodstuffs were available with food balls, with so much of carbohydrates, so much of proteins, all commercial foodstuffs. What happened? They just put on weight and they just increased their weight. Nothing happened. And later came that it is not only the food, you should do exercise. So they created steps on that pyramid. That means you have to go up the exercise and do some exercise. Even then, the food was not good enough. Recently, you heard of Obama plate? Any of you? Anybody? Michelle Obama created a plate. She said, food is not carbohydrates, proteins, or for school children, she said, your food plate, half of food plate should contain vegetables. Another half, one portion of it should have some pulses, and another half only should have all your rice, whatever it is. That is classically called as an Obama plate. But if you see the recent Coursera, I heard a lot of you are doing a Coursera. There is a Coursera from Stanford University where child nutrition and cooking, they say the most important aspect of good food is you should eat at home. From where we are going where? Initially we thought, father will come, take some food, take out it from the fridge, put it in the microwave, he'll eat and go. Son will come, take it out from the fridge, put it in the microwave, he'll make it hot and he'll eat and go. Everybody used to come and eat and go. But we said, if you want to be healthy, your food should be eaten with your parents. Whatever food it is. We created in the food plate, we created a picture of the father and the mother. And I think 2 years back, I think I was addressing the HODs of Christ University, and that time there was a great innovation on kitchen gadgets. Which is the best kitchen gadget? Fridge, microwave, spoons, food processors, cutters, and all those things. And the topmost instruments were the refrigerator and the microwave. But if you look into this, the amount of problems created by fridge and the microwave, it is very, very amazing. Any cooked food which goes into the refrigerator and goes into the microwave, it loses 10% of its nutrition and it creates 2% of toxins. It is more in case of non-vegetarian food. You can do a simple experiment. You keep, and the amount increases, like you keep the food in the fridge, put it in the microwave. 2 times you do it, it doubles. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. A small experiment. A non-veg food you put in the fridge and put it in the microwave 5 times. You keep it outside. Not even the ants or the cockroaches will touch that food. You can do this experiment. So, my dear graduates, health is not on those food balls or your, whatever we call it as a junk food. Health is in the natural food, which is available locally. We talk about Australian apples, New Zealand apples. The most nutritious food is our simple guava, the perleka, that gives the maximum nutrition. The food which is stored for more than so many days it will contain no nutrition, but it will contain only the pesticides and rest of the things, whatever is used for storing this food. So the first most important for all the graduates, eat your natural food, which is locally available, and that is the best food for all of us. Remember that. We are so scared of the food, like when we want our local food. If you want to eat coconut oil, you'll be so scared of cholesterol. This is all Western world because they don't grow coconut. They said coconut oil is very bad. You know, Eskimos eat only fat and they don't have any cholesterol problem. They eat only what is available. They just eat fat. So the food for a good generation is available in that same locality. It is not there from outside. And coming to the second point, I said exercise. The moment I talk about exercise, I think of all those state-of-the-art gyms, then weightlifting, treadmills, everything. One point I would like to tell you. If you are overweight, if you have got extra fat, that will be bad for your health. Similarly, extra muscle is also not good for health. Why? The heart pumps a certain amount of blood. It usually pumps about 5 liters of blood, and which goes to the whole of the body. Almost 25% goes to the brain, 25% goes to the heart itself, and 25% goes to the kidneys. And if you have got extra fat, it has to go to the fat. If you have got extra muscles, again that muscle, the blood has to be diverted to your extra muscles. You can think of course, biceps, triceps, quadriceps, six packs, and whatever it is. But whatever you have, if you don't want to use it, it is an extra for you. It's definitely extra. It is an overload on your heart. Remember this. You need muscles to do your work, not to impress anybody. Okay. It is not for, you need the muscle, because if you don't maintain that muscle, it will be bad for your health. If you want to develop these things, if you want to use as the things, like if you are a wrestler, WWF wrestler, or if you are a weightlifter, if your profession is that, definitely you can have extra muscles. But extra muscles will be difficult. You remember, like we talk about Darwin's evaluation. Like from monkeys, you become Homo sapiens, okay? And the tail becomes shorter, because these life system is not utilizing these systems, so it becomes smaller, and it becomes almost vestigious. So it is not required. Similarly, if you have muscles and if you are not using it properly, it will become deteriorated. It becomes vestigious. Even, if you have got more muscles, of course, it may be required for a hero in a movie. You may not get even a job of a villain, if you have got extra muscles. Because you cannot show extra muscles than your hero. Then villain's job also is not possible. So what I am telling you, think of another thing. Another thing is appendix. See, the commonest problem in the abdomen is appendicitis. Why it is a common problem? Because appendix is vestigious for the human body. The animals have got a very lengthy appendix, but they don't suffer from appendicitis at all, because that appendix is utilized for various functions in the abdominal body. But we have an appendix which is vestigious. That's why we suffer from appendicitis. Similarly, remember, you need your body. You need each and every part of your body to do your day-to-day work. So what is that work? So the most important work you can do is your work. Other day, one of our staff members, she wanted to go early. I said, why you want to go early? She said, I got an appointment in the gym. You don't want to do the work, but you want to do, you want to miss the work, you want to escape from your work, but you want to go to the gym. Only yesterday I saw a 38-year-old lady, she came with the knee joint pain. I did MRI, and it showed a lot of wear and tear. And generally when you do these scans, and these patients will come and talk to you, and the most important question anybody will ask you, sir, why I got this problem? Why I have this problem? I told her, you have to do work. You have to work, you are not working. I said, I am working, I